Hi guys, so today we are joined with Carson Reiners. She is one of our SciCulture ambassadors, and today she's going to give a presentation of her mural and she's going to explain everything about it. So yeah, Carson, thank you very much for joining us, and you can begin.
Okay, thank you very much, Esther. I'm going to go ahead and share. Okay. Mm-hmm. Here we go. So yes, it was me and four other participants that took on the challenge of designing a perspective of what a future city in 2050 would look like, due to the fact that our cities are in crisis. Our whole project is based on this idea of the rhizome, which I'll explain a little bit later. I'll be summarizing each of the participants' areas, because we actually, as a group, we all, like a rhizome, which will come into play later, we all had our own kind of satellites and own roles in giving information and presenting different ideas. So we're looking at the future well-being of cities in 2050. We're basically going to kind of take a look at what will be happening in 2050. For example, there will be a 25% increase in population. So we're looking at close to 10 billion people versus the 8 billion that we are currently approximately at. There's also the possibility of a 3% centigrade increase in temperature. So that is another issue that we have to deal with in regards to climate change, which is also going to cause a bit of altering of seasons and regions. And if we couple this with also the idea that, there is rising sea levels, which is also due to rising temperatures, we are faced with the problem that there could be a potentiality of less land available to actually produce food for the world. Besides our own kind of situation of poverty, we're also going to be losing land. So our problem statement was communities are unable to equitably access sustainable food. And now the symptoms of this is because of climate change, as I've mentioned before, also overpopulation, the sea level rising. Also, we have soil depletion and lack of available land. And it's not just because of climate change, this competition of land, but it's also you're going to be competing against housing and energy production. So we're looking for ways to kind of deal with this idea that there will not be land and there's not an equitably ability for most people to access food. And this is kind of taken on the individual, the community, and the organizational level. So on the individual, this is going to affect our consumption choices and also our education and awareness, which also leads to kind of like consumption power and food poverty. So that's on the individual. If we look to the community, there's a disconnect between communities. So if we are disconnected, this is also kind of going to aid in loneliness, which is also can end up being also kind of a problem of our psychological well-being, which also does affect our health. And if you couple that with, on the individual level of food poverty, we're kind of growing in difficulty. There's also actually on the community level, there's also then becoming a disassociation and a distance between actually a relationship with the environment. So on this level that the individuals who live on a land are now becoming disconnected even further from the land. And on the organizational level, transport of food and also the waste of food due to lack of transportation, or on the beginning or the end, we are wasting food. And we also have to consider food security and food self-sufficiency. So basically, we kind of came to the idea of how do we close this nutrition gap without using more land and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. It's not a easy thing to look at, and it's not the first time we've seen this, but as we go on to it, we're going to kind of explain how we attempted to face this problem.